Over the past 18 months, I've designed a few magnetic gears for different purposes, from non-contact propeller propulsion to miniature magnetic gears the size of a poker chip. But wouldn't it be great if you could design a magnetic gear of any size or gear ratio using any size magnets by just changing a couple of parameters in the design, in a similar way to using one of the many gear generator plugins to speed up the CAD design of a custom sized gear? Today, I'm going to have a go at doing just that and share with you a parametric magnetic gear model that I designed and going on to use it to create the biggest magnetic gear I've ever built to see how much raw torque over half a kilo of super strong neodymium magnets can produce. I'll be making the design available for free if you want to have a go yourself. More details on how to get hold of the parametric model later on in the video. I've covered why non-contact gears are interesting and how magnetic gears work a couple of times before, which I'll link to below. But in summary, magnetic gears are typically made up of three parts: an inner magnetic rotor that contains I magnetic pole pairs, an outer magnetic rotor that contains O magnetic pole pairs, and a middle magnetic flux concentrator layer that contains M ion concentrators. The more flux that can be channeled through the ion concentrators, the more powerful the magnetic gear. This can be achieved in a number of ways, including using stronger magnets, using more magnetically permeable iron, think more magnetically conductive, reducing the gap between each rotor and the concentrator layer, and by changing the shape of the magnetic field to maximize how much of it is channeled through the concentrator layer, using techniques such as adding a back ion or doing something nifty like rotating each magnet by 90 degrees relative to the adjacent magnet to create something called a Hallback array. Because minimizing the clearance between the rotors and the concentrator layer is so important, even the smallest tweak to a design can have a material knock-on effect to the whole design. So let's look at how the parametric model works. I create the design using Fusion 360. If you don't have a copy of this, there's a free version you can download for personal use. Once open, you can see the default magnetic gear design. Here's the inner rotor with the inner magnets. Here's the middle ion concentrator layer. Here's the outer magnetic rotor with the outer magnets. To adjust the design, open the Change Parameters dialog box and simplify the view by clicking the star to filter down to only include the user-defined favorite parameters that you can freely change. These parameters are broadly grouped into three prefixes, with int relating to the inner rotor, out relating to the outer rotor, and mid relating to the middle ion concentrator layer. Using the parameters, you can change the dimensions of the magnets that you're using, or the number of magnetic pairs can be adjusted to change the gear ratio, as well as the ability to tweak the clearance between rotors, separation between magnets, and the minimum external wall thickness. Here you can see what changing the number of inner magnetic pairs does to the model, and you can see here that the model is driven by minimizing the diameter of the inner rotor that can accommodate the inner rotor magnets as defined. So if you make your inner rotor magnets smaller or have fewer of them, the overall design of the magnet will have a smaller diameter. Here I'm going to change the gear ratio by changing the number of outer rotor magnets, and you can see that it auto updates the number of ion concentrators that are required based on the simple formula of I plus O. Or perhaps you want to change the design where you're using square outer magnets rather than rectangular ones because you want to create a Hallback array, for instance. Well, here we go, and there you have it. Or maybe the length of your magnets are smaller than you expect. So let's say you've only got 20mm magnets, or maybe they're bigger and you can get your hands on 50mm magnets that automatically update the width of the magnetic gear. Or perhaps you can design it in a way that you don't need as much clearance. So you can make the distance between the inner and the middle and the outer rotors smaller. After you've got the design that you're happy with, all you have to do is add a shaft and bearings and you should be ready to try out the design. So that's great when you have rectangular or square profile magnets to hand, but you might have spotted that unless you want to have a go at building a gear with a big diameter relative to the width of the inner magnets, the separation between the inner magnet's outer surface and the ion condenser is going to vary in a rather undesirable way as the inner magnets are rotated. To get around this problem, the answer is to use curved magnets for the inner rotor rather than rectangular magnets. Because these magnets each form an arc segment of a circle, they are called arc magnets and are typically used in motors. Unfortunately, they're harder to find and can be more expensive to buy. But if you're able to source some, I've also created a second parametric model that you can use with either an inner rotor made of arc magnets, or if you increase the segment angle to 180 degrees and decrease the number of pairs to 1, you can model the sort of diametrically magnetized cylindrical magnet that I used in my previous builds, as they're far easier to source and about as compact as they come for an inner rotor. The only difference with this model is that the user parameters include prefixes for arc-specific dimensions that are to do with the inner rotor, as you can see here, that are typically specified when buying an arc magnet, such as segment angle, which is 45 degrees in this case, and inner radius of the magnet and outer radius of the magnet, while the number of inner magnet pairs can still be updated as before. Here you can see what happens if we find some magnets that rather than 45 degrees, they're 22.5 degree magnets. So we update the segment angle, which means we can fit twice as many pairs in there. So we'll update that number too. Perhaps the ones you found have a much smaller inner radius, so they're much thicker as well. So let's make that number smaller. And there you go. You've got something that looks a lot like a segment of an orange. If you'd like to get a copy of the design, all you need to do is either join my free Patreon tier and you'll be able to download it instantly for personal use, or sign up to receive tips and updates via my website, designtomake.com, and I'll send you over the files. If you find the design useful, then I'd welcome a coffee-sized donation by hitting the Super Thanks button. Or if you're feeling particularly generous, by signing up to one of the paid Patreon tiers that I have, where as an extra thank you, you'll find even more of my designs available for you to try and build yourself, such as a full design of the big magnetic gear that I'm testing in this video. Right, let's use this art version to design a bigger, more powerful magnetic gear so we can compare it to the performance of a MIDI-sized gear that I used in the C-Scooter build. After a bit of searching, I was able to find some relatively cheap arc magnets that came in both the north-south and south-north polarity version that have an internal radius of 33.5 millimeters and have a segment length of 45 degrees each. So that's 8 magnets that I'll need, or 4 pole pairs to form a full 360 degrees. Next, I decided to go with the same size magnets that I used in the C-Scooter magnetic gear for the outer rotor, but a lot more of them. Looks like 20 should fit comfortably, and that should give me a gear ratio of 8:20 or 2:5. For the iron concentrator layer, I'm going to also use the same size key steel stock material that I used for the MIDI magnetic gear. However, if I want to make more room in the outer rotor for more magnets, then I could increase the height or the width of the iron concentrators, as so, or use small atom magnets. These are all the sort of changes that would be a pain to update if this wasn't a parametric design. Right, now that we have the starting gear dimensions, all that's needed is to add some bearings and extend the housing a bit. Lastly, I'll add a motor mount and design a test rig so that I can measure the max torque of the gear. Let's print it out and assemble it. All the parts for the inner magnetic rotor. Here are the magnets. It's the back of the rotor, the cap, the coupler, the bearings, the retainer plates, some screws, and some shims of 0.3 and 0.2 millimeters. To create the shims, I just printed a single layer with a couple of different layer heights. The central ring, you can see here, you've got all the iron rods, which I've cut and inserted into the central iron concentrator layer. And here, we've got the outer magnetic ring. Some bearings, some screws to mount it onto the stand, and the back adapter to fix the motor onto this. Here are the arc magnets again I'm using. I'm just going to assemble them all inside the inner rotor. So there'll be 8 of them in total, alternating north-south, south-north. I'm going to use the shims to make sure the inner rotor magnets are seated snugly, as I'd slightly oversized the holes. Looks like 0.2 millimeters is the right size. Next, add some bearings and combine the inner rotor with the iron concentrator layer and add some long screws to hold it all together. Next, we'll add the outer rotor and make sure that's attached. And then the motor mount. And finally attach it all to the test rig. Let's see how it performs. Oh dear, it seems that the motor can't produce enough power. Oh dear, this power supply can't give me enough ampage to drive the motor. Yeah, it's about running. Looks like I'm going to have to upgrade to a motor with a bit more torque, and I'm going to use a power drill for that. I'll do it a few times to see what the maximum torque before the motor starts. And I'll take a few measurements to get an average so that we know what the maximum torque that the gear can put out before it starts slipping. Just over 1 Newton meter of torque, which if we compare it to the MIDI magnetic gear that I created before, it looks like it's at least 6 times more torque than the MIDI gear, even before adding some of the enhancements like a back iron to the outer gear that I did in the MIDI gear. And that in itself increased the torque further by about 20 to 30%. So I reckon if I added a back iron to this to make it completely comparable to the MIDI gear, I'd probably get about 1.5 Newton meters of torque, which is not bad. Thanks for watching. See you next time.